Well, good afternoon, everyone. The great green movement has finally hit the mainstream. I'm reminded of this every day when I turn on my computer, log into my email, and I see 3, 4, or 5 emails with words in the subject line like green, sustainable, or eco-friendly. You probably get those too. And then I go home to relax, I turn on my TV, and yet another reminder. You've probably seen this commercial.
I've been looking over your green proposal.
Great.
It's fine, just fine. I'm sure it'll make people feel real good about the company. You should go over big with the tree huggers, too. See, the folks that I report to, they don't eat granola. So let me ask you, why would I sign this?
This plan could cut our energy costs by 40%.
40%.
And we spent $18 million on energy last year.
What do I sign?
Just sign it.
Well, the message is clear. Sustainability pays. But how do we get here? Well, to create an official sense of green, the U.S. Green Building Council was formed and is celebrating its 15th year in 2009. Taking a look back, LEED, Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, was launched for new construction in 2000. LEED was expanded in 2004 to include existing building, core and shell, and tenant improvements. The USGBC continues to refine their process and their metrics, but they clearly understand the components that affect the performance in our office buildings and all of our buildings. So what is a green building? Well, as you can see behind me, it's made up of 5 components: site planning, water management, energy, material use, and indoor environmental quality. But how is it measured? Well, to explain this, I took something out of my pantry at home, an animal cracker box. What is in this animal cracker? What are in these animal crackers? What's nutritional value? Well, it's akin to a LEED scorecard. A LEED scorecard is a predictive tool to tell us how our LEED buildings might perform. There's been this great momentum, and I wanted to share that with you today. So if we look at LEED development over the last 5 years, what you see here, especially in years 2007 and 2005, it's terrific momentum, bringing us to almost 7,500 registered projects at the end of 2008. But if we slice and dice it a little bit differently, we look at the square footage of commercial LEED certified projects at the end of 2008, almost 280 million feet. So why the momentum? Why is this important? Well, it's important because if we reduce any of these factors, we increase the returns for our investors. So look here. The impacts of impacts of buildings on U.S. resources. 40% of our primary energy use, 72% of our electric consumption. They're responsible for almost 40% of our carbon emissions and 14% of our potable water consumption. So with this information, we begin to build our business case for the LEED or green building. First, I want to discuss public demand, this public demand for all things green. And I'd like to focus on corporations. Corporations are actively looking for LEED certified space when they're out in the market. There are a few corporations that you know, logos that you see behind me. What you recognize is what I recognize. These logos, they're credit worthy. Next, federal legislation, what I like to call the March of the Mandates. So federal legislation has had a dramatic impact on our development since 2005 actually. If we look at 2005, the number of states that had legislation passed regarding LEED development, there were only 14 states. Fast forward to 2008, very, very different. 30 states had policies enacting LEED or sustainable development. Notice that Missouri is not on there, not yet. There's this growing body of data on the value of green. Why is this important to me and my investors? Well, what can buildings do for us? Buildings can reduce energy, carbon, water, and solid waste. Reductions deliver returns to our bottom line. So we're tracking data. We're seeing the data tighten as post-occupancy data is released. But what we know today is that benefits to green are operating cost decreases of 8 to 9%, building value increases of 7.5%, return on investment improves, and occupancy ratio also increases. I want to also discuss market maturity and technology and its effect on sustainable development. So today, LEED development prices are falling 1 to 2% of incremental cost in development. Next, we understand, or we're expecting, that public incentives will continue to offset the costs. Sustainable options will continue to expand, and I'll give you an example. In 2000, when LEED for new construction was launched, Shaw Carpeting had 1 or 2 choices for our tenants, but today, that's very, very different. There's a smorgasbord of options for our tenants to choose from when they're working on their LEED design. You know, recently I had a chance to sit down and talk to our friends at Kennedy Associates, Mark Renica and Christian Gunter. I'd like to tell you a little bit about Kennedy. Kennedy's got $1 billion of LEED certified or registered projects in their portfolio today. They've got another $1.5 billion in their development pipeline. You know, Mark and Christian had this contagious energy when I talked to them about what they're doing, their designs and their development. Mark truly believes that sustainable development gives Kennedy a competitive advantage in the marketplace. Kennedy was recently recognized by the Urban Land Institute as one of 9 award winners in the Sustainable Cities Award category for an investment firm. They're working on a project here in St. Charles County. It's at Progress Point. Sits at basically Highways 40 and Highway K. It's about 125,000 feet, Class A office for a single tenant, and it's 3 stories. But what's unique about this building is not what you see here behind me. It's about what they were able to accomplish during construction. The message is clear. Sustainability pays, and it pays in these different ways. During construction, they were able to divert 50 to 75% of the construction waste. This building during construction used 20% of its materials from local sources. It also used 20% of its materials from recycled materials. Now, what do we expect this building to do? To be very efficient. 36% more energy efficient equates to about $58,000 in annual savings. We also expect water efficiency, almost 840,000 gallons saved on an annual basis. You know, Mark and Christian gave me a lot of time and a lot of data, and I'd like to share 2 more cases with you. The first is an office building in Denver. It's about 400,000 feet. Its LEED project cost was about $400,000, which is additionally just less than 1%. Its LEED project cost was an incremental $400,000, excuse me. What does that mean? Well, they're expecting an operating expense savings of $63,000. They also received a $78,000 utility incentive for energy efficiency. Do the math, it works. The next case is an industrial building in Portland, Oregon. It's about 567,000 feet. Once again, the LEED project cost was less than 1%. It was about $200,000. They're expecting a $50,000 annual operating expense savings, and they also received a public incentive for energy efficiency of about $200,000. Again, the message is clear. Sustainability pays. So I'd like to leave you with one final thought. Sustainability, like quality, doesn't cost. It pays. You know, we're all looking for investments that promise a return. We're all looking for a differentiator. It's right here. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce Mike Hanrahan and Paul Hilton to discuss investment sales. Thank you.